Daf Yomi, Tractate Menachot, page 74b, starting in the Mishnah. The Mishnah on the top of about 2 lines into it, line or 2 into it. 74b, Mishnah. Zog the Heilige Mishnah, Minchas Kohanim, Minchas Kohen Mashiach, Minchas Nisochim Mizbeach, Vein Bahem Kohanim. וזה יפה כוח מזבח מכוח הכהנים שתי לחם מלחם הפונים נכון לכהנים ואם הוא למזבח וזה יפה כוח הכהנים מכוח מזבח. The meal offering of priests, the meal offering of the anointed priest, being the high priest, and the meal offering brought with libations that accompany burnt offerings and peace offerings are burnt in their entirety on the altar. And there is no part of them for the priests. And in the case of those offerings, the power of the altar is greater than the power of the priests. The 2 loaves, meaning the public offering on Shavuot, of 2 loaves baked from new wheat, and the showbread, meaning the 12 loaves, that were placed on the sacred table in the sanctuary each Shabbat, are eaten by the priests. And there is no part of them burned on the altar. And in the case of those offerings, the power of the priest is greater than the power of the altar. That's the Mishnah. Now the Talmud Zog, the Talmud, the Suleka. Yehoika oilo. Ika oilo lekohanim. Yehoika oila soy. Ika mora venotza. The Gemara asks, and are there no additional cases of sacrificial items that are completely placed on the altar, with none of their parts given to the priests? But isn't there the burnt offering which is completely burnt on the altar? The Gemara answers, there is the burnt offering's hide, which is given to the priests. The Gemara asks, but isn't there the bird sacrificed as a burnt offering, whose skin is not given to the priests? The Gemara answers, there is the burnt offering's crop and its feathers, which are not burned upon the altar. The Gemara asks, but aren't there wine libations which are completely poured onto the altar? The Gemara answers, the libations go to the drain pipes, and pouring the wine into the drain pipes is not considered placing it upon the altar. ומאי בזו הפוקים משמואל תאמר שמואל המסנדיב יין מביאו מזל פוי על גבי אישים כמשפלן דלשיסי נזלי. The Gemara asks, and what is meant when the Mishnah emphasizes, and in the case of those offerings, it's just the cleansing of the vessels for Passover, that noise out there. The Gemara asks, and what is meant when the Mishnah emphasizes, and in the case of those offerings, the power of the altar is greater than the power of the priest, indicating that there are other items that one might have thought are burned entirely on the altar as well. The Gemara answers, the Mishnah's wording serves to exclude the opinion of Shmuel, as Shmuel said, one who donates wine brings it and pours it over the fires of the altar, such that it is offered in the manner of an animal offering and is not as a libation. Therefore, the Mishnah's wording teaches us that the wine donated in this manner goes to the drain pipes, unlike according to the opinion of Shmuel, that is entirely burned. The Gemara adds, with regard to another ruling, the Mishnah supports a different statement of Shmuel, as Shmuel said, one who donates oil to the temple removes a handful and sacrifices on the altar, and its remainder is eaten by the priests. Shmuel's ruling is in accordance with the Mishnah, which does not list a donation of oil as one of the offerings given completely to the altar. According to the Mishnah, with regard to the 2 loaves and the showbread, the power of the priest is greater than the power of the altar. The Gemara asks, and are there no more cases of sacrificial items that are given completely to the priests, with none of their parts placed on the altar, but isn't there the bird sacrificed as a sin offering, which is eaten entirely by the priest, and none of it is placed upon the altar? The Gemara answers, there is its blood, which is sprinkled upon the altar. The Gemara asks, but isn't there the log of oil of a leper that he brings on the day that he becomes ritually clean, which is given completely to the priests? The Gemara answers, it is not given completely to the priests, as there are its placements, when oil is sprinkled 7 times before the Lord, Leviticus 14:16, and applied to the leper's right ear, thumb, and big toe, see Leviticus 14:17. Umay bezo lapoke iman diamar shtei lechem habaos ibnei atzman esreifo asyon kamashmalan de bezo yapa koach kohanim lo ilam. The Gemara asks, and what is meant when the Mishnah emphasizes, and in the case of those offerings, the power of the priests is greater than the power of the altar? The Gemara answers, this wording serves to exclude the opinion of the one who says the 2 loaves that are brought by themselves, accompanied by the requisite 2 lambs, may not be offered, and instead of being eaten, they go to be burned, by emphasizing that the 2 loaves and the showbread are eaten by the priest and not placed on the altar. The Mishnah teaches us that in this case, the power of the priest is always greater, even if the 2 lambs are not offered with the 2 loaves. That's the Talmud. And now the new Mishnah. The Mishnah called Menachot Nasois B'chli. Tunas Shloish Matan the Shemen Yitzik Uvalila Matan Shemen B'chli Kodim Nasiyason. Mishnah says all the meal offerings that are prepared in a vessel, for example, the offerings prepared in a pan or deep pan, require 3 placements of oil, listed here in the reverse order of their placement. Pouring oil. Excuse me a moment. Pouring oil on the cakes after they have been cooked, and mixing oil into the flour, and placement of oil into the vessel prior to preparation of the meal offerings. Chalos bolelan divrei rabbi v'chachomim oimrim soilis chalos tunas belila urikikin m'shicha keter moishchan kimin ki v'ashar nechon lekohanim. In the meal offerings that come as loaves, it is after the flour has been baked into loaves that one breaks them into pieces and mixes them with oil. This is the statement of Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi. And the rabbis say it is with fine flour that one mixes the oil. Although the loaves of the meal offering baked in an oven require mixing of their flour with oil, wafers do not require mixing, but rather a smearing of oil on them after baking. How does one smear them? He does so in the shape to the Greek letter chi, or an X, on the rest of the oil. Wow, like X. It's like Twitter, X. He does so in the shape of the Greek letter chi, kimin ki, letter ki, and the rest of the oil remaining after smearing eaten by priests. Interesting. That's another Solomon. Zok the Gemara, lemote ma'ayom Rav Papa, lemote minchas me'afe. With regard to the statement of the Mishnah that all the meal offerings prepared in a vessel require 3 placements of oil, the Gemara asks, to exclude what does the Mishnah specify? Meal offerings prepared in a vessel? Rav Papa said the Mishnah serves to exclude the oven-baked meal offering, whose preparation does not require the use of a service vessel, as it is merely baked in an oven. Such a meal offering does not require the pouring of oil. With regard to the 3 placements of oil in a pan meal offering and a deep pan meal offering, the sages taught that the verse states, and if your offering is a deep pan meal offering, it shall be made of fine flour and oil. Leviticus 2:7. This teaches that it requires the placement of oil in an empty vessel, and the flour is added afterward. In addition, the term your offering in this verse and the term your offering, Leviticus 2:5, written with regard to the meal offering prepared in a pan, are understood to teach a verbal analogy. Okay, shorter than I thought. Wow.